Hello, good evening, my dear ladies and followers. Today is 23rd of May 2020, and I have another guest, another sister connecting with us from Belgium, Mieka Sappho, or Mieka Antoinis. And she's a womb healer and a womb awakening facilitator, and I had the honor to meet her on the occasion of a retreat. I was part of this retreat last year in Belgium in a very beautiful location, together with the other 12 women. So welcome, Mieka. Thank you for answering my invitation to be my guest today.
Thank you for inviting me, Irini. I'm
very
excited to be here.
Me too. I'm very excited. We had a special connection in that retreat, and I think you also are one of my soul sisters in this world and in this life. So I would like that you introduce a little bit yourself in few sentences, around 5 minutes, and you can choose whatever you want to say about who you are, what you are doing for the feminine, and your experiences with this energy that is a very special energy and very much needed nowadays.
So yes, my name is Mieka Antoinis, and I am a womb awakening facilitator. And womb awakening is a path of personal development, and it is a path of embodied and feminine spirituality. It is spirituality with a feminine face of the divine. And as the name says itself, the womb awakening, we integrate the mind, the heart, and the womb. So I consider myself, I've been trained as a womb shaman and as a womb healer. I was trained by Seren and Azra Bertrand as a womb shaman, as a womb awakening facilitator. I did with him the 9 moon apprenticeship. So during 9 months, we were every day working with the wisdom of the womb, and we had 2 weeks residential retreat. I was trained as a shaman. Next to that, as general shamanism, not specified for women. So, but then they come together, womb awakening and shamanism. And I am also trained by Miranda Gray as a moon mother. So I do womb healings and womb blessings.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I received recently a womb blessing from a moon mother from here, from Oslo.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting now for my menstruation because it needs to revert to the new moon. It was on the full moon before. And yeah, it's a very special energy. And
yes.
It's very good when you do it together with so many women around the world.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So we can empower each other. We can hold this network of little womb lights and womb candles all over the world. And that's actually what Miranda Gray does with her network of moon mothers. And actually, I'm also a vaginal steam facilitator. I prefer more to call it a womb steam guide. And Kelly Garza, I'm trained by Kelly Garza, and she also has this international network of people of women she is training in this new field actually of women's health. And also the work you do, Irina, it is very important to connect our little lights and our efforts.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear it. Yeah, I bring a small contribution to the network, I think. Somehow I feel myself somehow a gatekeeper in between words and groups of people, in this case of women. You said you have many wonderful qualifications for promoting and helping in the personal and spiritual development of the feminine energies today. And I would like that the first question could focus a little bit about how is to be and how you get to this path of the womb shaman, because it's something that I also feel very much is my path too, because I'm also studying and practicing shamanism. And of course, I got to the womb through a different path that I might combine it in the future with the shamanistic practice, that is the family constellation. That is also a tool where I actually access a lot the lineage, the whole lineage of energies from ancestors and from my family and family of other people I work with. So tell us about your path into womb shamanism. What called you to this path and what actually means for you to be a womb shaman?
Mm-hmm. It is a lifelong story, and it it is more than one life story. So I can, if you allow me to go back a bit in time, I still see myself as a child, like in church. I had a very, and I still have a very mystical longing for silence. And as a child, when I was in church, my I would my mouth would like close, and I would not want to speak anymore. It was such a magical feeling of a cocoon of silence that I did not want to break, which is still very very familiar for me. I love the silence, and I have this very strong connection to mystical teachings, also by women. So it started as a child. I had a great connection to Jesus, to the core of loving, the core message of Christianity, which has nothing to do with the institution.
Yeah.
And as a girl in my teens, I was my innocence as a child and my integrity, my physical and sexual integrity as a girl has been questioned and challenged a lot during many years, um, uh, throughout my entire teenage years, actually. And that made me shut down. Around 17, 18, that made me shut down my connection to my body, my connection to my emotions, my connection to my feminine essence, to my intuition, to earth. And in my 20s, and then went on a very rational and logical and academic path. I studied quite long, and I tried to obtain a PhD scholarship, which didn't work. And then in my first job, which was a job with kind of a strong responsibility, something happened that triggered my shame. I had made a mistake to such an extent that my shame was like overwhelming. And I went ill. I became ill. And I went into a post-traumatic stress and into a severe depression, which lasted like for a couple of years. And that was like a turning point in my life. It was in the beginning of this century. I was at the beginning of my 30s, and I had to start searching again. I had to start searching to heal myself. I had to start searching to heal myself, and I started with arts, with sculpture, with painting, and then I discovered the chakras, and I started studying shiatsu. That was in 2003, I think. So that's already, time goes so fast. It's almost 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then the path put me again on. I was again on this spiritual path. I studied shiatsu. I started a very nomadic life as well, in which I did a lot of body work, a lot of dancing, a lot of martial arts, body mind centering. I did yoga, tantra. And then in 2010, I met the plant medicine. And I spent quite some years in working with plant medicine, both here in Belgium and also in South America. So in 2010, I went for the first, not for the first time, but I met my Colombian family, Colombian Maloca, where I often went from then, and there I started working. I was in my first women's circle over there. So they had division in this Maloca, and Maloca is a ceremonial center to gather women of different tribes and different teachings, not only from Colombia, but also from the Lakota, from North America, for example. And they gather to women to give teachings about femininity, about the moon time, about menstruation, about the balance between masculine and feminine. So they had a very beautiful practice there, and I learned a lot. So I went back like a couple of years to Colombia. I met my husband there. And then I lived for a couple of years in Colombia, and after that we came with my husband to Belgium. And another very holy experience and very initiatory experience was in 2017 when I lost a seed. I had a miscarriage. And I had the state of mind or the presence to give my tears and to offer my blood to nature and to the forest, and to make my own pain and sadness, to give it back to life, and to make this transfer from death, from a personal death, into life and into rebirth. And that has been a very strong initiation for me.
You had a grieving ritual,
Yeah, it was a ritual that came like it came in the moment itself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's at the moment of losing the seed. Mm-hmm. So and after the miscarriage, I was, during 9 months, an entire cycle of 9 months, at night, I was asked to sit on my womb. So I couldn't sleep. I woke up and I felt a communication with the night sky. And I sat on my womb, and I was asked every night to sit on my womb, to connect to my womb and to connect to this realm that opened for me, as from that moment. I had worked before that with women's circles and with my blood. But after this miscarriage, the connection opened to the Great Mother. In the same year, I started my womb awakening apprenticeship, and I started learning with Miranda Gray as a moon mother, and I found it moving inside. So in 2017. And I first started together with my husband. We built a little lodge, like a sweat lodge, but we built it in adobe and clay, So where we had encounter with the womb of the mother, and where we worked with the elements of fire and water and air and the earth, and we had ritual plant baths. And working in this lodge with steam during my apprenticeship with Seren and Azra Bertrand, they also talked about womb steaming, about vaginal steaming. And that was like, wow, another very pivotal moment in my personal evolution. And then I started, I found Kelly Garza of the Perry Steam Hydrotherapy Institute. And I started working with her as well as facilitating this vaginal steam, this yoni steam baths to womb steam. And both as a ritual with in a circle of women where we all put long dresses, and as a form of meditation, as a gateway into trance and into other realms, another state of consciousness, we steam together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember because we did with you in this retreat I was part of last July last year. We did a vagina steaming session, and for me it was like a blowing mind experience, but it was my like womb blowing experience because I felt such a deep connection and opening towards my true essence. And it felt so relaxing in the body. And then at a certain point after this, I almost had an orgasmic experience because my body and my womb was so open, and that everything that would actually came in contact with my body gave me that the sensation of almost orgasm. And it was really like something I never experienced in my life before in this way. So for our question that's next, I would like that you speak a little bit about actually what it is this womb steaming or herbal steam womb treatment or whatever, hydrothermal therapy or whatever you want to call it, and what are the benefits, because I think many women don't know that it's actually a very ancient practice. I'm not sure, but I think it's something that comes from Middle East or Middle East or some Oriental countries, and it's so beautiful and actually helps you to, as I said, to get inside yourself and to connect with who you are as a woman, as a feminine body. For me, it was like, wow. I was supposed to follow then after with more of this, but there were circumstances that didn't allow me, but maybe I can try in the future. So yeah, tell us a little bit, because you're an expert in this, and I know it's a big part of your mission towards women to work with this kind of techniques.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really passionate about this. So thank you for your question. And you've already answered part of it yourself. But womb steam. I prefer womb steam because vaginal steam is, I don't really like the word vagina. Vagina, vagina is, I think it's a Greek word, and it means sheath of the sword. So the thing where the sword is put in. So it's a very, it's a very masculine term, vagina, and it's also a military thing. So I prefer womb also because it is more broad. It's not only the vulva, it's not only the lips, it's not only the canal, the vaginal canal, but it's also the cervix, and it is the holy grail. It is the uterus and the ovaries and the entire pelvic bowl that we are talking about. So that is why I prefer the word womb. Also because in womb I hear the sound like Om. I hear this primordial sound of the universe, and we are connected with it from our wombs. But I will get to that. First of all, what is womb steaming? Womb steaming is technically, you make an infusion of herbs. Very, not any blend. That is very important. It's very important to know what you are steaming with, but a very balanced blend of herbs. You make an infusion of herbs, and you go sit on top of this infusion. So the warm steam is entering your legs, the vagina, and it touches the cervix. And what happens physically is that, you know, the vagina, the vaginal canal, is a very porous membrane. And that's how we get pregnant. That's how we get a SOA, an STD, because it is so porous that it also, with the steam, it absorbs the steam and the herbs, and it brings the medicinal quality of the herbs, but also of the elements, because steam is an alchemical marriage of the elements. It brings it directly into the bloodstream. So on a physical level, it is like taking medicine, but not through the mouth, not through the digestive system, but directly, it is directly absorbed into the bloodstream. So it is actually more direct and more quicker in its result. Because when you take a medicine and it has to pass through the digestive system, if your digestion is weak, then you lose part of the properties of that which you are taking in. So it is, it goes into the bloodstream, and it brings also it brings a lot of relaxation. It brings relaxation to the pelvic bowl, where we hold a lot of tension often, because maybe we don't move enough, or we hold trauma in our womb, or there's coldness in our wombs. So the steam is bringing more circulation. It's promoting the circulation of blood and energy to a region that is often stagnated, that often is we are disconnected from it often. So it works on different levels. It works on a physical level. And Kelly Garza, my mentor of the Steamy Chick School, she makes the comparison. She actually made the experiment. She took a jar, like a glass jar, and she put glue in it, and she held it on top of steam. And what happens? The glue is loose. And the thing is that as women, we start bleeding as from a certain age, 10, 11, 12. And the bleeding, menstruation, is a cleanse. And the cleanse should be an optimal cleanse, because each month we make new endometrial lining, and the blood comes to flush the endometrial lining when there's no implantation of an egg, when there's not been fertilization. The endometrial lining is flushed away by the blood. When we do not cleanse properly, there's old residue of endometrial lining, and there's old residue of blood that stays inside of the uterus and puts layers and layers, and eventually grows into fibroids or cysts, it creates obstruction of energy. It causes a lot of imbalances. It causes menstrual pain, because what does the uterus do when it wants to flush something that shouldn't be there? It contracts. And contraction is what is causing the menstrual pain. So all this to say that our uterus is self-cleansing, but often we don't support the cleanse because we do not know how to bleed. That's another topic. We do not know how to bleed. We put tampons, we keep on running, we keep on having our busy lives. So we don't bleed properly. So on the physical level, there's a lot of old residue built up inside of the womb. And the steam, it makes all of that soft. And the same actually happens on the emotional level. Our wombs are emotional containers. And we guard, we hold our emotional, our sadness or anger or trauma. It is stored in the womb. And it's not only the personal story, it is also the story of our mothers and our foremothers and our ancestors. And it's the story of her story, the story of women in for the last thousands of years that we remember in our womb. So also on the emotional level, there's a lot of softening being done while steaming. And on the energetic level, it creates, again, circulation. Energy that has gotten stuck, it starts to flow again. And on a spiritual level, it connects us to our essence. It connects us to our feminine spirituality. It connects us to our bodies. It connects us to our wombs that are really magical places. And it connects us to the Great Mother.
And we need this connection, especially in these times when everyone is isolated and in distance. We need to reconnect first with ourselves and with nature, and it's from this connection that we gather the strength to face the challenges, actually, and to reconnect also with the wisdom that we have inside the womb, that intuition, that power that we have, and sometimes we forget about this. So actually, I suppose that this is a practice that every woman, even quite young, once she starts the menstruation, should do from time to time or on a regular basis. And well, if there will be sisters seeing this, they can connect with you or just connect with me, and I pass the contact so you can follow up with them. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that I need to follow up with you. I promised already, and then I didn't keep the promise, but we'll speak again in private about this. So for
it is important to work with a trained facilitator, because we work with herbs, and herbs are very beneficial, but it's also important to know which herbs to use.
Exactly. And to know each body, you need to understand the type of the body, the menstrual cycle, and so on. So you need an expert in this. I know that you are also practicing shamanic dancing or something like that. And as I'm a dancer too, I never tried shamanic dancing, but I practice 5 rhythms that is actually quite rooted into shamanism, as it was created by Gabrielle Roth and her legacy. And I would like that you, for our third question, that you speak a little bit about what is actually the relationship between dancing or shamanic dancing and the womb story or her story. What is the meaning that this connection has for you, and how you would also maybe invite other women to to get deeper on this path, because I think, for me at least, that everything that is related with embodiment techniques is related with our temple, that is our body, and how we cherish this temple through our own experience, into movement, into sensing, into using our senses to experience something that is based on our flesh or our own constitution as human beings, but can actually, as experience, can transcend these boundaries of our body.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you like to speak about this?
Yes. Let me make like a very small deviation, like Corona. We are in Corona times. And Corona is the French word for crown.
Yeah.
And the first thing we think of, hearing the word crown, we think of a crown on the head. You
Yes.
know, we think of this symbol of power, and mostly masculine power. And we also think of the masculine spiritual traditions, like opening the crown chakra and opening into transcendence and the heavenly realms and the eternal and the universal, and reaching perfection, reaching the light, reaching the equanimity. So masculine spiritual practice is very much related to the crown chakra. But there's another crown. There's also next to the masculine crown, there's a feminine crown, and there's prayers, there's body prayers that connect to this feminine crown. And for example, if you would be like on all fours, and if you would touch your forehead, the ground with your forehead, and your butt would come up, that's actually showing your feminine crown to divine. Or there's in the Toltecs and many traditions, like they come out of the sweat lodge from behind. So first it is the feminine crown coming out, like greeting from a part of our body that has been shamed a lot. But the feminine crown, and now I'm coming back to what you said so beautifully. Our feminine crown is our body. Our feminine crown is our life. Our feminine crown is our presence on this earth. Our feminine crown, our feminine spirituality is embodied spirituality. It is immanent. It is juicy. It involves our desires. It involves the mystery. It involves the imperfection of who we are. It involves the shadow work, the searching. That's the feminine spirituality, and dance is like is one of the most exquisite expressions of embodied feminine spirituality. And the way I work with dance and the womb and shamanism is we start first with a teaching. For example, teaching about the medicine wheel in the womb. So in our womb, we have the elements. We can relate to the elements in our wombs. And the ancient womb priestesses, they knew how to master the elements from their wombs. It's practice that has been forgotten or like hidden in mystery school teachings. But for example, we would start with connecting to the elements with teaching. And then we will have a meditation. We will go into trance. We will have like a shamanic journey, and we will make up personal journey into the elements, for example, in the womb. or into the portals that we have in the womb, the archetypes that we have in the womb. And then we will dance with it. Because dancing, we integrate new material. Dancing, we incorporate new information. And we don't do it in the mind, but we integrate into on a cellular level in our emotions, we reprogram ourselves. And we will notice that maybe we make movements that we have never made before, and we are asked to move in different ways. Or we see that emotions come up because of the dance. So it's actually a very life affirming practice, dance, where you can, you know, if shamanism is like a little stone that you drop into the water, then where the stone falls into the water, the very small circle, that's our ego. That's the known part of who we are. That's our personality, that's our roles, that's our career, that's our relationship to in this social life. But then there's the concentric circles around it that expand more and more. And shamanism is like finding a way through an altered state of consciousness, through trance, to relate your ego and to make it bigger, and to relate to nature, for example, to the elements, to animals, to the stars. And there's no limit in how wide you can become. And dancing is like a very beautiful way to explore this.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love to dance. I think that is one of my favorite expressions or techniques of embodiment. And sometimes even in my activities, if we have the opportunities, I invite women just to move themselves and to activate the body and the belly energy, because moving the belly is essential to actually release, as you said, trauma or emotions that are stuck and other things, and to reconnect again with this part of our body. You spoke about also the womb about as a kind of portal, or anyway a doorway or a path of experiencing who we are in our most intimate essence as women. And the womb itself would not exist without the rest of our body, of course, with all the other systems and tissues, cells, and so on. So it's just a part, but it's a very important part of us. And it's actually what actually defines us as women. And you also speak about sacred menstruation. So what is your understanding of sacredness of the womb, and how this sacredness can actually is part of our daily lives? Because many people and women think that if we think or speak about something that is sacred, it automatically, because we were conditioned and we had in our upbringing this idea of the sacred associated with something that should be religious, like something that has a structure, a ritual, a priest, or some other kind of figure associated with this sacredness. While the shamanism is actually somehow a different or opposite concept to this one, because it gives you freedom to experience your own way of creating sacred space, your own way of relating to yourself, and then further on with nature, with Mother Earth. And in this case, your own way of experiencing your womb in a temple, but your temple is also part of this bigger space that is the nature, if you are in nature, or the cave, if you want to do this in a mountain or in a river, it's your nature itself becomes a sacred temple, and you cherish inside this sacred space your own sacred body or sacred womb. So yeah, I would like to hear from you more about this part of what is actually to have or to behave like a sacred womb, to actually live your life like a sacred container. Let's demystify a little bit this part.
Sorry?
I would like to demystify this part. There is too much mystification.
Mm-hmm. It's a very beautiful question. Yeah, for me, there's actually absolutely no difference between the physical and the spiritual, and between the worldly and the sacred. And everything is so sacred. And the womb, why the womb? Why in this feminine spirituality relate to the womb? I mean, you could also, like, the heart is also like a gateway, a very powerful gateway. So why the womb? And it's probably also important to say that it's not only a practice for women, or it's not only, it is a practice for people who identify as women, people who identify as binary, and also people who identify as men. And even if you do not have a womb, because a lot of times the womb has been, there's a lot of hysterectomy, so the womb is taken away. Also, if you do not have a womb, there's still the energetic imprint of the womb. And even for men, in Taoism, they say that there's a practice for men to develop their extraordinary womb and to create a divine child, which refers to finding a balance between masculine and feminine energies, and also embracing the feminine energies. And also for men, like the hara or the womb, embracing that and honoring the feminine and supporting it is for them also a way of healing and a path to wholeness. And men also suffer from their disconnection from their feminine side. And so the womb is not only for a practice for women, and demystifying the womb. Why the womb? You know, it is something so strange in our culture that the organ where life is created, that the organ where a child is being grown from scratch, from zero, the organ where spirit comes into matter. I mean, is there another place in the human body where you have this very human, this very earthly, this very profane reality coming together with something so sacred, with something so divine? And it's the same for our menstruation. It is the same for our blood. It is something regular, something reoccurring month after month. And it is a very concrete barometer of how we are, because our blood teaches us things about our health. It teaches us if we have blood deficiency, for example. It shows us if there's imbalances in our gynecological condition as a woman. So it is very, very of this concrete level of existence. And at the same time, as you said as well, it connects us to something it connects us to many things. It connects us when we know that our ova, our eggs in the ovaries, they were fully present at the moment that we were in the belly of a mother. So if I would have had a child or a daughter, she would have already been potentially alive when I was still in the belly of my mother. So there's an unbroken chain from mother to grandmother to throughout the female lineage until the beginning of time. So through the womb, we are connected with this feminine history, her story, the things that have not been told in the history books.
Exactly.
And we are also from the womb, we are connected to the moon. And as the water is governed by the moon, we and with our blood, we are following, we are like part of natural cycles. And after my miscarriage, the entire year of meditating on the womb, I was connecting to the cosmic womb. Because a womb is a place for birthing things. And the ancients, they already knew. And there's another thing that is not in the history books, like the womb cosmology that the old societies had from 35,000 years to 5,000 years ago. They knew that, they already knew that which is only shown now by science, that there is a cosmic womb. There is a black hole that births. That black holes birth galaxies. And as a woman, we are connected with that energy. Our womb is like a fractal, or it's a signature of that place of birthing. And, you know, if a star has got an intelligence that is already like way more intelligent than that what is happening within this brain, then a black hole has got an intelligence that is exponentially more powerful than that of a star. Can you imagine that? And the laws of physics, of time and space, they do not apply inside black hole. And it is outrageous to be connected from our womb with that womb. And with the many wombs, because there's many universes, there's many universes. And the ancients, our ancestors, they knew about the womb. They knew about the cosmic womb. They knew exactly where Cygnus was, for example, the first black hole that scientists discovered quite recently. They knew exactly where it was because they had an intimate relation with this rhythm of birth and destruction and rebirth. And our womb time, our moon time is a reflection of that same movement, of that same sacred movement.
Beautiful. It's actually amazing for me that you brought in the concept of cosmic womb, because 2 days ago on 21st, I was guiding a group. We were 5 women, and it was a meditation, and we actually connected with the cosmic womb, a very special portal with Mother Arc energies. And the fact that you brought not again the cosmic womb was like, wow. We were already connected on this level to speak about it, and it's really so important that women start to understand this mystery of life and of all the cycle that we carry inside ourselves, or this wisdom that in many cases we ignore, or we just don't think it's important because no one taught us or spoke about it before. But now these are the times of the feminine. That's why we are starting to reclaim all this wisdom. So we're now arriving to our last question, because this is how I organize these interviews. It's 5 questions, and then at the end a small gift for you as a guest. And as you said, you are a moon mother too, and you are trained and you have experience with this kind of practice. And I would like to know what this being a moon mother for you meant in your personal and spiritual development path, what these experiences brought you on this path, and how, this might be 2 questions in one, but how this experience shaped somehow the woman that you are now, your feminine energies, in which way impacted them.
Okay. I have gained much more understanding of the archetypes that are present in the menstruational cycle. Thanks to being a moon mother, and thanks to working with Miranda Gray. And yeah, there's also the Red School in England, and there's other people working with the archetypes. But I learned I learned a lot from Miranda Gray, and I really love her teaching. So that's what I will speak about. It made me understand myself much better as a woman, and it was important to learn how to manage my energy within the moonly or monthly rhythms, because I'm 47 now. I'm at the edge of my bleeding is starting to become erratic. So sometimes I do not bleed for a longer time. Then I bleed in only for short cycles, or I only have short cycles. But in a moon cycle, in a menstruational cycle, we pass through 4 archetypal phases. And there's the phase of the virgin, there's the phase of the mother, the phase of the enchantress, and the phase of the crone. And every phase has got its own or her own expression of emotion, of energy that you have available. It's got another psychology actually. And Miranda Grecci says so beautifully that every woman is actually for women. And that is why it often gets confusing for the woman itself, and let alone for the beloved or the partner. It can get really confusing, and it's really important to understand these archetypes and to know in which part of the cycle we are. Like to know, okay, that's why I'm feeling this way. Okay, that's why I don't have energy. Oh yeah, okay, it's better to wait doing this thing until I'm in the next phase of my cycle. So it's all about energy management and learning how to flow with the phases of the moon. Like for example, in the virgin phase, after the menstruation, we have a lot of energy. We are very positive, and it's the best time to make our to-do lists and to set our purposes and our intentions, and we have a lot of energy and we are positive about ourselves, and we go from A to B, and it's actually the energy it's the archetype that is best accepted in our society now, because it's the archetype or it's the energy with which we can make career and we can perform on a very high level. And then there's the other archetype, the mother archetype, that's also very accepted in our society. But then our energies or our energy levels go down, and we come into the enchantress phase. And there's a lot of women, like for example in the United States, 85% of the women have PMS. And that is because not knowing how to deal with this enchantress phase, not understanding the qualities of it, not on a physical level, not on an emotional, not on an energetic level. And not knowing that we have to slow down, for example. And during moon time, like to come to a rest and like to honor the fact that we are letting go. And the enchantress is the preparation to let go. It's like understanding which is what, understanding what in our psychology is ready to be transformed. To understanding what obstacles on our path we can let go. And if we do this consciously with the energy of the enchantress, and we give our blood to the earth during our menstruation, then we have, it's a very strong spiritual practice. And then our blood and our moon cycle is like really a shamanic technology. It is technology. And every shamanic school for women should work with the blood and with the cycle and with the archetype.
It's all spiritual technology.
It's spirit, absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I like this concept very much because I am a scientist by profession and education. And yeah, I like to see both aspects of reality, both the spiritual and more technological and scientific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While you were speaking, I was already preparing your gift, and I was called and inspired to have two phases gifts, to call it like that. So it's a more complex gift. It's two in one. And the first part is a card that actually fell down for you while I was shuffling from the keys to the universe, because you spoke about the cosmic womb, and I had a flash that, yeah, you are a star seed. You have a very deep connection with the cosmos. And so your card, I will read it, is number 30. And
30?
30, yeah, 30. The
30.
ocean near Fiji. This portal draws healing energy from Alcyone, the Pleiades, bringing cleansing, stimulating natural growth, and raising the frequency of our planet. This portal is the navel chakra of Earth, so it has to do with the womb of Earth, bringing friendship, warmth, togetherness, and cooperation to humanity. Archangel Gabriel is helping to cleanse the planet and raise it into the fifth dimension, drawing high frequencies energies to Lady Gaia to ensure they continue to flow, touching everywhere. The guidance is to breathe warm, welcoming orange light into your navel chakra. Imagine being on a white beach in Fiji with others for a joyous celebration. Dance, sing, laugh, and cry. Embrace each other and feel as one. The action: listen to the sounds of the ocean and know you are receiving a connection to this portal. And the key: to practice friendship, warmth, togetherness, and cooperation to promote harmony at the fifth dimensional level. And then I was thinking to read for you something from this beautiful book that you might know from Sophie Bashford, You Are a Goddess. And so as the card is number 30, I open at the page 30. And I will actually read from 30 and 31 because there are two parts here. Because 30 is more about the book itself and what the book can invite the one who reads the book to do. But there is something here saying like that. In your own perfect way, you are returning to the goddess. You are the goddess. Your palm now turns upwards as you feel her come to take your hand into her long-lost mystery, into the sacred chambers of your own heart. For your journey, my prayers are with you. May the light of the goddess be yours always. And here on the next page, it says, the goddess welcomes you. Dear precious soul, a warm welcome to the realm of the sacred feminine. I am honored to hold space for you as you enter the healing, awakening, and transformative temples of the goddess. I am also excited that you have already taken the most important step of any creative and growth-inspired process, showing up. Showing up is something that may sound easy, yet frequently isn't. I always share with my clients and workshop participants that over 50% of the work is already done by them showing up for the work. This is the author speaking. Showing up represents initial overcoming of the resistance that all of us have to uncovering our light and power. That's not to say that there is nothing left for you to be present for, to receive, and to work on. Of course, there is much more in store for you. And it's about the goddess, and of course then she speaks more about the way she experienced this relationship with the goddess, but I'm not going to continue very much because you already had the nice welcome from the goddess because you are already a goddess and you work in your own way with the goddess energies that are the womb energies and the channel between the womb and the heart, because without the heart our womb will not be nourished and will not be sustained. So this was my small gift to you, and I hope you enjoyed our interview. I like it very much. You have a lot of wisdom to share with other sisters, so I think that those who will see this interview will actually have a lot of things to learn. And then if they want to know more about your work, I can make available your contacts. And I thank you again for answering to this invitation. And yeah, continue to do the good work for the sacred feminine. And you know what to do. So I don't have anything else to say. Just the fact that I'm really very grateful for your presence here with us.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you, Irini.
Thank
and for
you.
your work and for making me show up, because doing an interview was not like the thing. It scared me a little bit.
You don't have to be so shy. I told you that everything will be okay, and you did it very well. So thank you, and I will soon make available for all of you in different platforms. And we see next time for the next interview that will be probably in the beginning of June with another sister of ours. Thank you again. And
thank you so much, Irini. Thank you.
sleep with angels tonight.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.